Hey guys, DibtheAwesome here to give you yet another Monster Legends guide. So we talk about monsters, moves, rune sets, partners, all that jazz. Today we are talking about the Team Race monster Cryotan. I know I said I'd talk about the Scrap Warrior for my return guide making video, but I feel like this is the most relevant one. I'll make a guide on him later, but I want to talk about this one because this one has been on my mind for a while, just in terms of just stuff. It's a talked about monster. Everyone's debating whether or not it's good or bad. Everyone's feelings are mixed about it. Here are mine. I believe it is the best mounted monster in the game. I don't believe it is the most tankiest, however. Which is weird, because I just said it's the best tank. I said it's the best mounted monster. I didn't say it's the best tank one, even though it has one of the highest lives in the game. It lacks recovery, which is one of the major things of why I'd say it's not the tankiest one. It's got a lot of shields. He's got a lot of prevent damages, you could say, but he has nothing to really sustain his life. Oros has passive regeneration. Gorin has AoE 90% life reset, pretty much. As long as the other three enemy monsters are alive, he pretty much has a 90% heal. Self-heal. Plus he has things that can remove all the the damage moves. If he gets cooldowns activated, he doesn't recover too well from it. In terms of removing like burns and stuff, his way of removing negative effects isn't really the best. He can remove stuff off himself, but it's just not, it's not good. As Gorin's you can remove negative effects and apply a 75% shield. Or I think it's either 75 or 70, but regardless, you guys came here to learn about Cryotan today. But yeah, I'll talk about why he's the best in the video here. We'll explain that on the way, and why there's much controversy about him. For powers, 3,421. While this isn't the highest power, he does have passive damage. He has a spammable 55, I do believe. So that's really nice. It's not too high of power, but it's passive. It's really good for passive damage dealer, or just something that's not going to hit really hard, but he'll hit you in time. This man doesn't really have any DOTs, and one of his skills is more so reliant on insta-killing you and only having like a turn to act. So yeah, you won't take too much use of this power. Everyone usually just judge a tanks by its life for the most part and how much damage it does, and this guy does a lot of stuff. So his life is 41,017. This is a really high life. It's one of the highest lives in the game. Third highest, I've been told. And, yeah, what can I say about this life? This is a really good life. Yeah, it's just really good. Clearly, he will not be taken down in one hit. I do believe even with a rank 10, you couldn't do 41k naturally, could you? Rank 10, 110, with rank 10 runes, I don't think you could do 41 damage in one blow. So you can take quite a few blows before going down. That's the nice thing about this monster. Obviously, if you double damage that, oh yeah, yeah, he's going down without any life runes. He's going down. But naturally, he's got good bulk. That's what the monster is designed for. So that's not surprising there. His speed is 3,003, and if you're new to Monster Legends, having a slow base stat speed has been a curse forever for monsters. If you don't have a really good base speed, it's not a good sign. Usually you have to rely on the other two stats for the most part, since it's obviously not a denier for the most part, but it has denier skills. I will say that's a huge thing about this monster too. It has denier skills, and people are really about it. Like they want to love it too. At the same time, they hate it because it's just really slow. I'm pretty sure people would want this to be a really fast monster. So if they had the choice, they would want this monster to be extremely fast because of one of its skills, and we'll talk about that again later. So base speed is terrible. Just naturally terrible. It's just, if you get this monster playing without ranked up, it's just horrendously slow. You wouldn't want this as your main denier. It just wouldn't fly as your main denier. It would work as an extra guy. I highly recommend running this guy as the extra guy, as not the damage dealer, not the denier, but the guy that's there. I highly recommend that. A lot of people get this at rank 3, so at the stats at rank 3, I'm going to talk about their stats at rank 3 real quick, because like if you see this in multiplayer mode, you will see this in rank 3. At rank 3, I mean. So for power, 3,887, really good power, really high, above the gospel power, really good for passive damage. Will squash anything that's not ranked up or running a life rune just over time. It'll just easily stomp it in 1 or 2 to 3 turns with one of its damaging most. Life is 54,175. This is a huge life. It works well with his abilities, skills. He's got a bunch of life increasing skills, but has no real recovery. He's able to avoid damage. He's able to double the damage he takes in, or double the damage he can stomach. But he needs other people to heal him. He needs somebody to hold his hand and or just give him buffs while they're doing their own business. Now here's the speed part. If this thing is rank 3, you kind of want to stay away from it. If they're building like right now the main build, or the main discussion build, we'll go more depth in it later, but right now the main discussion build is 2 speeds and a stamina rune, and if this is the case, if you do see this thing walking around with 2 speeds and a stamina rune, stay away from it. just straight up. If you see this on defense on the enemy team, like one of your multiplayer options, stay away from it. It's just not a good idea going at it, unless they don't run the stamina rune. But you can't really see if they are, so it's coin toss whether or not they are. Some people might be crazy enough to actually run full speed, which they're entitled to do, but I don't think they should, because again, they would tend to take away the point of running it. You kind of have to run a stamina rune, but again, we'll get to that later. So for right now, just to let you guys know, this is a meta speed. Just like at a level 100, this is probably the lowest acceptable denier speed, I would say. So it has the lowest denier speed at 150. This is important. Keep this in your mind later. So its ultimate is Enotropic Death of the Universe. 50% chance of killing any enemy instantly. 20% chance if it's a boss. This really doesn't matter. You just cross this out. What's most important is it has a half chance to kill you instantaneously. No damage. You don't need to be like, if you had max life, double life, if this thing had no way in heck of dealing any form of damage to you, don't matter if this gets like heads, if he calls it right, you are dead. You are very much dead, and even if you don't die, even if he misses the chance to kill you, you have 3 turns to live. Because unlike the other past insta-kill ultimates, I do believe there have been 4. So the 4 that have had an insta-kill ultimate are Noctum, Oros' main reason why you even put him on defense is you just wait for that ultimate. This is a huge concept with really bulky monsters. So Oros, Tank Miron. Personally, I think Tank Miron, and between him and Oros is better because he can't be possessed. The prototype Tank Miron and yours truly, Cryotan, here. The difference is with those, beyond the other predecessors, this one will for sure kill you in 3 turns if it misses to kill you the first time. So having something that removes positive effects or negative effects have just gone up through the roof. Ukaduma, Valgar the Pure, Demises, AoE, remove negative effects. Anything that removes negative effects and also gives something in return is just increased in value. It's really important that you have those kind of monsters so you just don't spontaneously die in 3 turns. And, just lose for no reason, which isn't lovely for you at all. Overall, this is a good ultimate. I will say this is the best in terms of just ultimates in general. This between the insta-kill ultimates, this is the best ultimate, because if you do miss, you will kill them in 3 turns if they can't remove it. So it's a guaranteed. So if you're guaranteed, if you get this ultimate at some point, getting the ultimate is not guaranteed, but if you get the ultimate, you are guaranteed to kill them in 3 turns, unless they have something to remove negative effects. So this is a really good ultimate. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best secure kills in the game, because it will kill you in 3 turns if it misses to kill you, for sure. The 50% chance time. So this is a really good. Ultimate. I'd like to talk about skill in skill groups 1 called Skadi. Gives 25% stamina and 1 extra turn to itself. Realize the stamina cost is 0, and it's cooldown to 3 turns. So once it uses this, it's only on a 2-turn cooldown. So as long as this thing doesn't get double turned, It's only on a 2-turn. Realistically, it just feels like on a 2-turn cooldown. If you can just get a normal turn order in, this is nuts. This is really good. I highly recommend running this skill. It's very fundamental for his kit, especially if you're running the Stamina Rune, which is highly recommended too, if you're running a certain move. And I see people running. Oh, I will see people run it anyway. It's just too good a move not to run, and I'm pretty sure people will use it for that purpose. And which is why, again, he's not the tankiest. He's not the tankiest one in the game, even though his base stat is very well the top 3. But building him, in terms of a meta build, from what I see, I don't see it. And he also just doesn't have some, healing moves. He really lacks natural recovery. He has ways to block damage, but he doesn't necessarily have ways to recover from it. Or, he can stomach damage. He's not able to heal it off. It's kind of like eating. He likes to eat a lot, but he doesn't necessarily get rid of it. He doesn't necessarily, relieve himself of the damage he has taken, and relieve himself of the things he's ate. At some point, if he takes too much, he explodes. That's the point of the monster, or the point of this concept. This is his remove negative effects skills, by the way. As you see here, it's only a 35 damage skill and on 2-turn cooldown. While it's not too high, it's still 2 turns, and it's a slow monster. You just gotta think about that. Arcia deals very heavy special damage to one enemy. It's his spammable 55 damage skill. You have the choice to run it. I don't see people running it though. I would see people running this next concept here. So here's the next skill. Uroboia deals heavy water damage to one enemy, applies Mega Freeze to one enemy. The target will die after 3 turns. So basically, when you use this skill, you will stun someone for 2 turns. They cannot move for 2 turns. You've got them locked down, and during that time, after 3 turns are up, they die. So this is basically a mini ult. This is basically his ultimate, but you can use it right away, and it's nice. It's not in terms of an AOE presence, but you still get that. You still get that effect. And for those first 2 turns, they're not doing anything. They are completely frozen solid, unless they have someone that can remove negative effects, like Ukaduma or Valgari the Pure again, or Demise. Those are just a handful. There's a lot of monsters that remove negative effects. Those are just the 3 I can think of at the moment. This is a skill you must run, by the way. This is mandatory, which is why I don't think people will be running any of the damage skills. I would say run this if you're concerned with Timera. In fact, that's actually one of its problems, is cooldowns activation. He has really high cooldowns, so it might not be a bad idea to run at least one spammable skill, just so you can do something in between waiting. Elysium doubles its own maximum life capacity, so it gains double life and applies a 50% shield to itself. A lot of people wonder if the double life applies first and then you get the medium shield bonus. This basically becomes 100% life shield if the double life is applied first. So basically you will be getting whatever his base life is at the moment by the time you use the skill. This is something to put into account. So a possible extra, if you run the extra guy build of, or like an alternate extra guy build of a speed, stamina rune, and a life, you'll be getting more out of this double life skill right here. Realize that there is no life regen with this skill. Again, he does not heal his damage. He just prevents it or stomachs it longer, or just blocks it off entirely. Arceus deals massive special damage to one enemy. It requires a cooldown of 3 turns, 70 damage, 40 stamina. I highly don't recommend this move. I highly don't recommend this move. Ascarius, I think I said that the word wrong. I highly don't recommend it. It's just damage. It's vanilla damage, and you're not really aiming to apply this damage. It's just too long of a cooldown, and it's not too fast of a monster, so I don't recommend it. You're also not building damage, so that's also a thing to factor in. It's just not a reliable skill for it. Bozili Montes. Applies Mega Freeze to all enemies, requires a cooldown of 6 turns, 0 damage, 250 stamina. This is the highest stamina skill in the game. I highly recommend running this skill, and I highly recommend running the single stamina rune with the 2 speed. This is the main purpose, or the main use of this monster. People are hyped for this monster, this move alone, for this monster. That was a weird mumble of words, I'm sorry. But it applies Mega Freeze to everybody. So basically they're out for 2 turns. It's basically Mega Stunning, but you know, it's freezing. And no one's really immune to Mega Freeze yet. There are monsters that are immune to Mega Stun, but now that there's a new Mega like stun that no one is resisted to, except, you know, artifacts and the Spirit trait, which Totem has. This is universally good. It is also controversial because it's a slow monster. Again, this is a really slow monster with one of the most powerful denies in the game. And nobody's ever liked a slow deny. Nobody has ever liked a slow. I can't believe why I'm saying snow. A slow denier. So yeah, it's just kind of that. It's just really weird. So that's why I kind of recommend you run it as your extra guy. That way you have your main denier still. And this guy can just freeze over anything that's a problem, and you could just win from there. Partners that I recommend pairing this guy up with, besides a really fast denier that can give immunity to possession, I highly recommend that. Get someone that can give this man immunity to possession, because you do not want the enemy having this monster. If the enemy has this monster, huge problem for you. Get something that gives this thing immunity to possession, such as Lamuna, Bowtie. I highly recommend that. Just really, probably like I'd say maybe your fast monster, your kind of deny monster there would have to be probably be Bowtie. I mean, like in terms of strong choices, simply because he can give you immunity to possession, which also blocks. I'm sorry, which blocks out stuns, which blocks out, mega stuns and the advanced possessions. Very important, very good. So yeah, I'd recommend the skill. Olympus applies taunt and 100% life shield to itself. So basically, when you set this skill up, when you set up Elysium and you set up Olympus, I would think you're unkillable at this point. Or you're either unkillable at this point, or you're gonna die from like a really high leveled up Voltic or Xyla. I think that's just one of its hugest damage dealer problems at the moment, or is counters. It's like Voltic and or Xyla, simply because they have so many turns in and they can do so much damage to this thing without even trying, because monsters are just really good at killing water type monsters, and this guy is a water element monster. It's always been the problem. I have said in the past, tanks are kind of Voltic's bane and or Xyla's bane, but when they have the type advantage, that doesn't really. I mean, it's not going to take them too long to kill this thing. Just realistically speaking, have you not seen a Voltic just utterly destroy a water monster? It just utterly goes. Poof. It's just gone, which is a huge concern. And that's kind of another thing too. Like, you're not really running you're not running more life with this thing, so it's going to take them less time to actually kill you. So what do I actually recommend you run with this monster? I recommend Olympus, I recommend Montes, I recommend Elysium, and I recommend Aerobia. These cooldowns are really, really high, but in all honesty, if you're running the 1 stamina and 2 speeds, this is just the build you go with. You have to at least have a level 5 stamina rune to run Montez. So I recommend a 5 or up stamina rune. Now let's say you weren't going to build him for that. You would build him with 2 lives and a speed, I do believe. If you weren't going to go for the meta build, I'm assuming that the 2 speeds and a stamina rune would be the meta build. If you're not going to go for that, and you're going to go for like a tank build, I highly recommend 2 lives and a speed. I'd hook up Olympus, I'd give it Elysium, I'd give it Aerobia, and I would actually give it Skadi. Oh, which I actually did recommend you would run. So that's another thing too. You would have to run that skill. So you'd have to not run one of the tank moves because you need Eurobia. That's hands down. So if I had to choose between these two personally, I'd recommend Elysium. It doubles your life and it gives you 50% shield, which probably turns out to be the 100% shield. So you get more of a tanking option. I recommend this. Though Olympius is lower cooldown, so I guess it's just up to you what you want. It's personal preference. Olympius might do you better simply because of the lower cooldown, and it has top capability so it can protect your monsters. So you probably want to run that. So for the main build, I know I said I was going to talk about like the tank build real quick, but I want to talk about just the recommended build again, just one more time. Olympius, Montez, Eurobia, and Skadi. Run this, and you're good. Now for the tank build, I'd have you run Olympus. I'd have you run... you'd run Olympus, you'd run Elysium, you'd run Eurobia, and I do believe you would run... See, with this skill, you don't really need to kill them. I mean, you don't need to do passive damage. So I'd recommend running Skadi. Just lower the cooldown of your insta-kill move, and you should be good from there. So yeah, that tank build would be 2 life Centispeed. If you're not down with the whole mega freezing. The thing with mega freezing is, if you mega stun someone, they're usually dead. So that's why everyone's usually hyped about this, because it's on an AoE scaling. If anybody's ever used like Brawnies, you know, just like the hype of the situation. For partners, again, I recommend the Bowtie. He can protect you from possession. He can reset your cooldowns. He can bring your cooldowns up again. Well, I mean, like, he can bring your moves up again. That's what I mean by that. So you can have your Eurobia back up again. You can have your Montes back up again. Can you imagine? Okay, so can you just straight up imagine running Bowtie? You're immune to all deny. And your third monster can be just a monster with full team life if you wanted, or just like a 2 team lives and a speed. Just so it increases the survivability of Bowtie and your other monster, the Cryotan here. And then you can just do Mega Stun, and your Bowtie can patch up any wounds, what have you. And then the other monster you brought besides Bowtie has like regen or something, and it could be nuts. Another option for Cryotan would be Captain Copperbeard, who is a fellow mountain-like monster. He's a metal-based monster. He has the ability to reset cooldowns. He has the ability to bring your cooldowns back up again. I mean, like, you can have your moves up. Same thing with Bowtie. It's a little more risky because if he's affected by possession too, you're not having a good day. It's very, very risky if you put that combination on defense, simply because if they get a hold of your Copperbeard and he just keeps resetting the cooldowns of your enemy's skills, they're just going to possess you the whole game. It's not going to be good for you. So final verdict real quick. Again, I think he's the best mountain monster in the game. Doesn't mean he doesn't have any counters. I don't think he's the tankiest one because he doesn't have any healing capabilities. He's reliant on other people to baby him, really, just in terms of healing. Another thing too, his weakness element. While Earth isn't really the best defensive type because there's a lot of dark attackers, Water has its fair shares of evil. I will say it has its fair shares of evil, mainly Voltic. I've seen ranked up Voltics. I've seen 130 Voltics. So even if your Cryotan's 115, if the Voltic has a really high speed rune, and even if you have 2 10s, I mean, I had one time I had like a Silotus that had 2 level 9s, full speed, just straight up full speed, 2 level 9s, and a level 3 speed rune. I was still ran by a Voltic with just running 110, I do believe, 110 speed rune. Yeah. And I think it was like ranked up or like 115 or 120. It's nuts. But you just gotta watch out for that. DOT, I think DOTs is a problem for this man. remove positive effects. If you in all honesty, if you're fighting someone that can not only can remove your positive effects but also set your cooldowns. So Cassandra, if you're looking for monsters that kind of counter this thing, use Cassandra. She can set the cooldowns on this monster. She can straight up remove the tank moves off him. Pretty much keep this monster from doing anything the whole game. Mega stun monsters. Even though he is a mounted monster, he is not immune to mega stunning. So if you bring something that mega stuns like Brownies or Atlas with his ultimate, any stop time monsters like Hackster, Mr. Flanky, Timeron. There are ways to deny him. I would not recommend just straight up stamina drainers. That's not a good idea. Stamina drainers and possessors aren't as effective on Cryotan as other monsters, though if you do possess them, you do have the chance to get his ultimate, which will kill all the other monsters. And again, that's another issue too. You need someone. You absolutely need someone. If you put this man on defense, please pair him up with something like Bowtie or Lamuna, something that gives him immunity to possession. You need that. That's a mandatory thing to have. If you don't have that, you're just gonna get possessed, and you're just gonna have your skills upon you, and that's not good for you. You want you want this Cryotan skills to be used on the enemy. You do not want him to waste a turn on his own team. That's not good for him, and that's not good for your friends, and that's not good for your monster. This is not a good idea. So yeah, overall, I think it's a really good monster that will take time for people to pick up on, but I think it's going to be really cool. I'm going to get one in the future, hopefully, if it's going to be on sale. I really hope this isn't going to be like an Agursis, like it's going to pull like an Agursis. Like everyone's going to think this is a really good monster, like extremely good, because I don't really see Agursis too much on defense. Really, in all honesty, like in the beginning when Agursis was out for a while, a lot of people think that Agursis was going to be on every single defense fight for Fire War. Not really the case. He's not really even used all that much. I rarely see anyone put him on defense, which is weird. It's just weird. It could be the whole Worth situation. Maybe he's just not up in wars all that much, but I just don't usually see him on defense. It's just weird. I just hope this doesn't happen to that monster. No, it's not like nobody likes Agursis. I just don't see him. Like the hype doesn't. It's not there. I will say that like everyone has hype for him. Everybody loves Agursis. I absolutely adore Agursis, but the hype's usually it doesn't show. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone's gonna be hyped about this. I just hope that this thing will see the light of day on defense. That'd be cool. I will say each mountain monster has its own problems. I will say that each one has its own unique things to deal with, and that's really neat. Not every single monster has a problem with the same stuff. Sometimes they have similar problems, but not all of the time. But I will say just one similar thing everything has is Mega Stunning. And since it's not a mountain monster, it doesn't really have a Mega Stun counter yet. So I will say it's a better defense option than Oros. I highly recommend running it instead of Oros. And that's all that really needs to be said about Cryotan, period. No more added stuff. That's it. If you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. I'm DibtheAwesome, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.